Welcome to the final part of Mega Man 4 for the Game Boy. And we walked out of that dangerous looking explosive place at the end of the last part, so we're now back at Light's lab and he's trying to shill us more stuff from the shop, which I don't need. So I'm gonna head straight back out. I don't know why it sends you straight back here. Like, in terms of the story perspective, yeah, but like we're not necessarily gonna need to go to the shop. Although that is like the most petty of nitpicks, so I can't really complain. At least we get to go to the cool looking bone ship, and it probably has a name. It's probably like another Wily station like we had with the other games, but it looks like a ship, and I do really like that. And look at this outside aesthetic. Like the space look to it. I'm surprised they're not using the harsh black background for this actually, although I kind of think the grey works perfectly fine for it as well, and the fact that they were using the blacks to show stars there, it's kind of a little bit different from what you would expect from most outside space areas, like on the Game Boy. Like, so it's just a bit more creative use of the Game Boy's palette really. I'm not sure how that'd look like on the actual hardware, given, you know, like we get the perfect image here because I'm emulating it, but if you're playing on an actual Game Boy, the background of the screen, it has that sort of like greenish hue to it. So imagine this but with like a green background to it. Like that, it kind of makes a lot of games look weird. A lot of games did look weird back on the original Game Boy, and that's why I'm glad I have emulation now. Because, you know, with the beauty of emulation, you have like, you can blow it up to a huge window on your computer screen and you can see it full screen if you want. Like, it might not be the most pleasant thing to look at on some games if they flicker a lot, but, you know, you have that option, and it's how I tend to play games now. Like, I can play it full screen and I can sit back, and I tend to use my DualShock 4 controller for this because it has priority on the D-pad, but it's also comfortable to hold. It's way more comfortable than like the DualShock 3 ever was, because like I never really got on with that controller. And it's also much more comfortable than playing this on actual hardware, and you know, you're holding onto your Game Boy and you're having to like look down on it. That's one of the things, like I've played way more handheld games on like my PC emulating them, or on like, you know, virtual console and things like that, than I ever did back when like I had these consoles originally. And I think that is just a comfort thing. And even nowadays, like I've been playing a lot more 3DS games since I got my new 3DS XL than I ever did like in the years of having the original model 3DS, because the original model 3DS, it's really not the most comfortable thing to hold on to. Like, it's very square shaped, and if you're trying to look down at it, like the screen's tiny and that, whereas the new 3DS XL, it's still small, like it's still made to be portable obviously, but like it's a much bigger screen to look at, and I actually really like it as a piece of hardware. Like, granted, it is a little bit outdated now because the Switch is a thing, which I also have, and obviously I played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Super Mario Odyssey on. But like, that's a good bit of hardware as well, like in terms of its form factor. I kind of consider myself lucky at this point that I've just picked up the new 3DS XL and I have this massive library of games I can pick from, as and when I see a 3DS game that like tickles my fancy. Because it kind of feels like, given how little I played my original 3DS, it kind of feels almost like there's a new console come out that I've just got, and there's all these new games that I can explore on it. And, you know, maybe I've accidentally spoiled myself now by essentially skipping over a generation's worth of handheld games. So yeah, like I was said in the last part, I've been playing through Kirby Triple Deluxe. I also, once I've beat Triple Deluxe, I want to play Planet Robobot, because I've heard like a lot of great things about that. Like a lot of people saying that that's like one of their favourite 2D platformers, and you can kind of see from the kind of games that I show off on the channel, I'm a sucker for a good 2D platformer, so I'm looking forward to playing that, because I've been having fun with Triple Deluxe, and if it's like a better version of that, then I'm totally down for it. And naturally, it's gave me an excuse to revisit Pokemon Y, which the FlameHisWorld playthrough of Pokemon Y, which I'm doing with Stephen and Chris, that will be starting very soon actually, at the time this going up. Probably next week or maybe the week after next, once I've got a decent backlog of things recorded to kind of go up. Because I don't really want to jump the gun a bit and put loads of stuff up and then we have to go on break for a few weeks, because that's no fun having to wait ages for a new video if you're already invested in a playthrough. But, you know, I'm going to be playing it a lot more by ear this year, I reckon, because last year it was like loads of dead air, and the start of this year, after Journey wrapped up, it's just been like a lot of dead air. And not only do I want to meet my 12 playthrough goal that I set at the start of the year again, but I also want to kind of keep consistency flowing. Like, I fucked up in February, but we got the rest of the year. And so, yeah, I think if I play it a bit more by ear this year, then, you know, hopefully you get more content coming out, and I'll try and make it as good as I can. But that is the kind of thing, like, if there's any kind of games that you think I could show off, or I could do an interesting job of showing off that you kind of think I could cover, then, you know, feel free to kind of throw a suggestion my way. Like, I might not do some games just if I don't really feel like that into them, or I don't really feel I would have that much to talk about. But I kind of do also want to broaden my horizons a little bit as well, so that, like, obviously I've promised I'll be doing Mega Man 5 Game Boy later in the year, but I don't want the whole channel to just be here's more Mega Man, you know, because that's kind of been FlameHisWorld's biggest drawback, I guess, for the last few years, in that sometimes I'll do something a little bit ambitious and then that kind of takes forever to do, and then the next month I'll be back on my bullshit. Like, I've done a few things that I think are a little bit out of my comfort range, at least in terms of like the commentary. Like, back in 2015 I did Beyond Two Souls, and, you know, like 2016 was a bit of a safe year. In fact, it was a very safe year. It was like 3 fucking Sonic games and a Mario Kart, which is like the epitome of safe FlameHisWorld. But like last year I sort of did a few different things. Like, I did Brightstar, which, yeah, it's a 2D platformer, but it's a series that I hadn't covered before. And also I did Vanquish, which is a shooter, which is nothing like my sort of things. But of course I also did like 3 Mega Man games and Pokemon. And like Pokemon and Mario Kart, Mega Man, they're always going to be like FlameHisWorld staples, and I always will be like not far away from another playthrough of those. But, you know, I've been playing a lot more different kind of games lately, so I kind of want to represent that on the channel as well. Maybe not a lot of like RPGs, because I've been playing more and more RPGs lately, but, you know, just a few different bits and pieces, change it up a bit. But yeah, the reason why I'm sort of feeling more comfortable about just talking about updates and general things here is because the Wily stage, it is what you expect from a Wily stage on the inside. Like, I know we've got the big fancy ship sprite from the outside, but on the inside it is just, you know, typical Wily stage. We had like, you know, enemies from all the other stages, and now we've got the boss rush from the other stages. So we're just kind of doing the same old here. And I thought it'd be a convenience thing, because this actually uses the NES format for the boss rush, whereas most of the Game Boy Mega Man games have sort of just changed it up a little bit. This went back to, you know, the good old fashioned, you get a room, you get the teleporters, and there's the 8 different Robot Masters that you take on. So I just thought I'd speed that up for us, rather than just watch the same fights again. And speaking of the impressive art that I mentioned in the last part, maybe the like over the head shot we saw of Mega Man walking along was a bit derpy, but everything else in this cutscene just looks legit cool. And I think a lot of what's impressive there is that it's just the fact that it is just using the 4 colours. You know, it shows the strength of this game's line art in cutscenes when you can make such detailed character designs, enemy designs, robot designs, just by, you know, doing your best with the limitations that are there. I think that's impressive. Like, granted, this boss is kind of a joke, you know, you just jump on his fist and then use Stone Man's weapon, and as long as you're sort of vaguely in the right area, it will hurt him. Granted, Stone Man's weapon is a bit harder to aim than like the forward shooting weapons, like say Crystal Man's weapon, but it's really not that challenging in the grand scheme of things, so just kind of, you know, as long as you have a rough idea of how Stone Man's weapon spirals, you'll be able to take it down easy enough. And the music's getting a little bit more intense, so I think that kind of suggests to us that we're getting something a little bit more dangerous to take on here. But yeah, here you do want to use Ballard's weapon against the big Wily boss here. At least for the shots anyway. Like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the like Mega Buster or standard pellet shots just to get him away from me so he doesn't hit me. And then whenever he opens his mouth like that, that is your chance to shoot him. So you do want to keep switching weapons, which I suppose can get a little bit irritating, but it's no biggie in the grand scheme of things. And honestly, if you've got E-tanks, you don't even need to worry about shooting him back like that. You can just take the hit and then shoot him back. At least I think you get enough leeway to do that. But, you know, you can just sort of shoot him back for very little effort. So you might as well play it the easy route and play it safe. What's going on here? Might we have yet another phase to take on? And might it be very similar to the Mega Man 4 Wily boss? Because I think it might be if you look at the weapon that we're gonna start using. Yes, let's switch to the Pharaoh shot. And it is basically the Mega Man 4 final boss again, like you just keep shooting Pharaoh Man's weapon at him. He's got a few other things that he does here, like he shoots these ball things down that bounce around, but on the whole it's pretty much that he fades in, he fades out, and you just keep on shooting the Pharaoh shot at him, and that's pretty much it. Like, if you know how to fight him in Mega Man 4 NES, then you know how to fight him here. He looks so upset in that sprite there, poor guy. Like, he deserved everything we just gave to him, but still, poor guy. But yes, we're coming towards the tail end here, so I'll say my overall thoughts on Mega Man 4 Game Boy. I kinda like it. I think some of the changes here are weird, like particularly what I was mentioning in the first part about how like the Mega Buster fires you back. There's little weird tweaks like that. But on the whole, like, this game is perfectly solid, it's serviceable, it's a little bit more done up than the first three games. It's another one of Minakuchi Engineering's one, like with the first game and Mega Man 3, so, you know, it kept Inafune satisfied, like, with the developers he liked. And it ultimately, it's a solid game, I enjoyed my time with it. But look, we can't quite get through here, so we may need a bit of assistance from a surprise partner. And this kind of supports my idea that Ballard is a robot of pride in that he's kind of dying a worthy death. Like, he recognised that Mega Man beat him, and so he decided to support his enemy and respect his adversary to the bitter end. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the Flameclaw, and this has been Mega Man 4 for the Game Boy. See you next time for another playthrough. Bye bye for now.